Well, Jason, thank you so much for helping my project. I was wondering if maybe you could introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Jason Lee Lux. I'm from Orangefield, Texas. I went to school with Nathan.
And we were in Scouts together too.
Also, Nathan R. We called you in Scouts because you were so proper. Nathan R.
In our actually, there's two people that work. I work for my boss is in Minneapolis. I work from home in Houston. And when you know, there's like two Nathans that work at my company, both from Houston, for the same boss. So that actually, maybe I should go back to that. That
Back to Nathan R.
Nathan R. Yeah,
Anytime I talk to Dad about you, it's Nathan R.
Nathan R.
He remembers that from Scouts.
That's awesome. Um, so, did you know that NASA is planning to go to the moon in 2024?
Well, I've gotten the hint now that you're in what the almost 1800th interview or something.
Yeah, it's like 245. I got like 1,500 more to do. I got my "We Are Going" shirt on, so kind of
So
spreading the
yeah,
word.
I've heard the rumor. Yes.
What do you think about that? I mean, does it? Do you think that's a good thing for us to be doing, or you think, we got coronavirus and you know, world peace and lots of other issues going on? I mean, how do you think about it?
Well, I really like that a lot of it is driven by private industry. It means that we're not pulling resources that, are government pulled everybody's resources as much, just for one lofty goal of playing in space. Not that it's not important, but like you say, there's plenty of really important stuff on Earth that we got to deal with at the moment. So the fact that we can, not really crowdsource, but, bring in independent funding for a lot of that stuff, I think is really, really cool.
Yeah, it's different paying for only the winners versus paying for, you know,
Yeah, that's
uh,
yeah.
Newt Gingrich. He used to be the Speaker of the House a long time ago. He was proposing the idea of having like some type of prize money that like uh, the government would give out to the first company that was able to land people on the moon and bring them back. Something like several billion dollars, which may be way cheaper than what it ends up whenever we have NASA do it with the traditional
Then
way.
yeah, everything it would take for us to actually do it, especially with government involved. Absolutely. But so that was just a hypothetical, though. I thought there actually was some sort of.
Oh, there definitely is some commercialization going on. Like for example, NASA used to run the shuttle program and send the
Mhm.
astronauts to the International Space Station on that. Now they have SpaceX and Boeing that have both developed a vehicle that can carry astronauts, and they just pay a fixed price to send an astronaut to the International Space Station. And those companies own the vehicle, operate them, and everything.
Right, but I thought part of the driving force of those guys getting privatized vehicles to do that was for some sort of, maybe it was just a race between two big companies. I don't know, but I thought there was actually some sort of government prize involved in that too. But that's not the case.
Oh, I mean the contract. It's worth,
Just the
several billion
actual the
dollars.
actual money is the
Yeah,
prize.
yeah.
Gotcha.
But SpaceX actually has two other customers besides NASA. Um, Axiom Aerospace here in Houston, and they're actually doing something with Tom Cruise to send him up to the International Space Station to film a movie.
I saw that. Yeah,
So that could be pretty interesting.
that's crazy.
But most of the people I talk to don't know that we're going to the moon in 2024. And I was wondering why you think that might be.
Well, I probably would have known about it if I hadn't seen you talking about it. I mean, advertising, I guess. I don't know. It's not. It's not at the forefront. The only venue we have for information anymore is Facebook. And so right now, if it's not COVID or presidential elections, who knows what the hell's going on?
Yeah, no, that's interesting too. And the thing about the presidential elections, that's not the only election that's going on. You have, the Senate, the House, all these state
There's a
elections.
lot of important things going on, but this is the two things that we know about right now. And we're not
Exactly.
entirely sure what we know about it. So
It seems kind of crazy, right? I mean, we have the capability to literally talk to people all around the world, like you and I are talking about, yet we all live in like this information bubble, and it feels like we have less.
I, I don't understand it. It's like back in the bro call days of broadcasting, it feels like we were more informed, but now we have information that, like you say, I can just, if I had the inclination, I could just Google, when are we going back to Mars and probably or back to the moon and figure this out. But I'm just stuck in my, let me check Facebook every 10 minutes and see what's new, see what the new meme is, because it's what's important right now. I don't know.
I know, it's kind of interesting. What do you think that will do to our society?
I don't know. It seems like it's really, I don't really know how to say this. I mean, I don't want to like say civil war, but I mean, it's bringing everything to left or right, or right or wrong, or everything is a binary decision in everything. And if it's, you can agree on 100 things, but if you disagree on one thing, then you lose a friend that you've had your whole life. It's like, well, this is insane. What's been going on the last, I mean, goodness, what, at least through the Obama presidency, up to now.
Do you think that's just because of the way Facebook has developed and how everybody's gotten on there and how those, Facebook's essentially been militarized, or do you think it's something else?
That's really hard to say. I don't know. It seems like tolerance has just gone to hell. Like nobody wants to hear what anybody else has to say. It's, I had, uh, friends for, I mean, what we're pushing 45 now. If we've had friends our whole life that all of a sudden, if we have a dispute about something, they'll just cut you out for nothing. Like,
Wow.
I'm sure we haven't got along our whole lives. At some point we've had a dispute before. What's going on here? But now they're just, we're just unfriended and you're done. Like, all right. Yeah, life is really important now that we never have to see each other. We only talk virtually. I think we've lost something in not having to actually call and talk to somebody or go see someone to interact.
Yeah. Yeah, indeed. Um, and that was actually part of the reason I did this project was because I work from home. I've been working from home for the past 2 years. I could literally go for days without ever seeing anybody other than family. And so my plan was to force myself to do this with like people at the coffee shop and what have you,
uh,
just to get out and actually see humans, real people.
yeah. Well, that, and I mean, you're so when you're not working remotely, you're working all the time. So then you just don't even see family. You only see people at work. So it's like everything's a little microcosm that you never get out of anymore. There's no, I don't go to scouts or jujitsu class or anything outside of the two things we do. We come home and eat dinner. We get up and go to work. We come home and eat dinner. We go. You know what I mean?
I do. And one thing with this whole COVID-19 thing is you've had like, what, half of the people stay home and society still goes on. Like, you know what I mean? It's like, it's not like we have food shortages or
All right.
the
Yeah.
lights have gone off. The water
Yeah.
still runs.
Which I mean that's like a big, hey, thumbs up for society. I mean, technology, look, you did it. You automated everything that we had to absolutely have. But I think yeah, I don't know, like we lost something somewhere. I couldn't pinpoint it for you, but we don't really interact anymore outside
Yeah,
of our little, right. I don't even talk to the neighbor unless he just texts me or sends me a message on Facebook. He literally sends me a message on Facebook from next door.
Oh, wow.
We can walk 50 feet and talk to each other at the fence. We don't even have a fence. He can walk all the way to my house.
Uh, but
So,
I guess I agree with you 100%, and I don't talk to my neighbors that much either. I mean, there's one that we like have the driveways run next to each other, and luckily, like the mom over there used to be the art teacher for my sons in middle school, so we like have a connection previously, so we always like say hi and what have you. But really don't hang out with many people around here either. But I like look at that and I'm like, I could change that if I want. And
yeah, could. I don't know, but it's like the convenience is so addictive or something. I don't know, or just easy. Everything is just easier to just sit here and complain about it than to go do it.
yeah, that's true. Um, yeah, I mean, it did really. I, I remember being bored a lot growing up in middle school and high school, and that would push me to like read books or hang out with friends or do scouts and things like that. But it seems like we're in a age of constant entertainment. Like if
Well,
you're bored, you need to pick up a phone, you need to watch a Netflix, you need to
yeah, yeah. And like you can't. There's so much you can't consume it all. It's like if you're not being entertained, then you're missing out because you're getting behind. You log on to Facebook and now there's new stuff that everybody's talking about. And if you're not caught up, you're an idiot. So now I got to go catch up on Netflix so that I can be up to date on Facebook. Man, that's a terrible cycle. What are we getting out of that?
yeah. Hmm. It's I keep thinking, but I mean, like, if you look out like 500 years, do you see humanity still being on Earth, or do you see humanity being here at all, or have we actually, expanded into the rest of the solar system? Like, well,
If 500 years is a long way to look out. I'm not sure I can even fathom that, but uh, I don't know. It's interesting. I I imagine after that, we're going to have to do something. It's either going to be expanding out or compressing here. You know what I mean? We're going to have to do uh, some serious intervention of procreation, or start moving out after 500 years. I would think. Now, whether how far that would be out, it seems right now that it's more reasonable to be um, man-made installations rather than like an Earth analog somewhere. But I can see us expanding. I mean, at the rate that if private enterprise keeps getting involved in doing the innovations that we need and backing things up, I could see where we could definitely be out on some sort of space stations, or bubbles on Moon and Mars kind of thing. At least starting the early parts of colonization.
but it's interesting you mentioned birth rates. Birth rates aren't uniform across the world. They vary
Right.
greatly between different parts of the globe. In fact, some places the birth rate's lower than the death rate, and that they're actually having shrinking populations. I mean, like Japan, and like the native populations in Europe and in North America. And then
I was
you're
going to say
really,
we're shrinking, are we?
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And then you have like really growing populations in, Africa, the Middle East, Asia, Latin America. Um, so it's like, and the pretty much like the common thing is like the per capita wealth. It's like what you said about our neighbor. It's just easier to interact in Facebook. And I think, having kids are a real pain. I'm, I mean, I love my children. Don't get me wrong. I'm just glad I had them before I
Uh-huh.
knew better.
Yeah, hold on. Let me record this for them. Oh, you're doing that.
I
Okay,
am
let's
doing that for
go
myself. Yeah.
ahead.
But
uh,
yeah,
yeah, I mean, I can see that, especially at least in our coming up, our kids, uh, that they're just, you know, I don't know, not interested. Like, you know, I my son is about to turn 18 in a couple of weeks. And at first he was going to be a surgeon because I think they make a lot of money. And then now he's talking about being a zoologist or something. I think more just because it's easier, but and I kind of like animals. And so I want to say they're disinterested and talk down to them, but at the same time, I remember it took me till I was a good 25, 27 to be a reasonable human being. So I have to keep it in mind not to judge anybody on what they are or ever, hopefully, but at least that young. So I don't know. It's hard to say anything about, all this millennial fighting nonsense that's all over the place. They're young. We're young.
My
Yeah.
youngest son's also going to be 18 in a couple of weeks or a few weeks. He turns 18 on September 10th.
That's Drew's birthday, September 10th.
Awesome.
Huh. So yeah, I told you it was a small world. We're going to outgrow it.
Exactly. He was actually delivered by C-section. We went to go check out the doctor and like we could schedule the delivery, and we were like, better do it before September 11th than.
Yeah, I guess that's a good call.
My dad's birthday is actually September 11th, so that's kind of. But he didn't have much choice. He didn't know.
That's funny.
Yeah. Yeah. My biggest thing for my son right now, he's applying for colleges, and he's just really concerned about getting into the colleges that he's chosen. And in his world, is like if he can't do that, then it'd be like a really bad thing. And I'm like looking at my life, and I'm like, you know, it probably won't really affect the outcome like you think it will.
So I really hate to tell him, it's not really all that important 10 years down the road, buddy, but I no, please stay motivated. don't slack off. But at the same time, don't sweat it. It's gonna be all right, one way or the other.
Yeah, it's gonna be
Yeah,
okay. It will work out. But I don't
yeah.
know. There was a lot of pressure in high school, wasn't there? I mean, you really felt like you were in a kind of like a little spaceship, sort of.
I don't know. I was a scumbag in high school. I don't remember. I dropped out. I don't know. I threw the pressure out the window and just left. So, but yeah, I didn't take on the pressure as an adult until I finally got married and had other people. I could never take responsibility for myself. I had to take responsibility for other people before I finally grew up. So, but but I can see that. I mean, and now it's worse. Like the kids are. It's. I mean, it seems like I said I didn't pay attention in high school, so maybe I'm wrong. But it seems like they're being held to such a higher level of education at the ages. Like they're supposed to know more advanced math or history or whatever it is. Well, not history so much these days, but you know what I'm saying. It's like what I would have considered first year college stuff. They're getting into in the middle of high school now.
Yeah, but it seems to be all, kind of moving bits around in a computer as opposed to really understanding like physical stuff. And like, I mean, how many high schoolers do you think could actually build a house?
Yeah, I had a pretty similar conversation recently that I was like, trying to figure out what I'm going to do with my. I'm not 45. I'm still trying to figure it out. So what am I know? But I'd like to. I feel like the kids don't have. They're not getting any actual skill set anymore unless they go to shop class, or something like that. My cousin just interviewed for a job not long ago. He said during the job interview process, they asked him how he would change a tire if he got a flat tire on his bicycle. And so he started going through, take a wrench and undo this. And they stopped him about halfway. So that's fine. Most guys just say, I don't know, I'd call or Google. And so that was the whole point of the question is that you would actually try to fix the thing, and have some sort of sense about it. and not just, I don't know, I'd have to start by YouTubing what a bicycle is, you know.
And of course, it'd be funny if the interview took a turn and they're like, "Hey, come with me," and takes them out to the sidewalk and says, "How would you change this tire?"
Yeah, I'm glad you know because I have this issue I need you to work on. Exactly.
Yeah.
And so that's what the kids don't like it. But anytime there's, you know, he's like I say, he's fixing to turn 18, so he's been driving for a year and a half. And anytime there's a squeak or a bell or a light on the dashboard, well, come on, man, we're fixing it. We're not dropping it off somewhere. Let's go.
I think
Even
that's
if I don't know how
awesome.
to do it, we're gonna figure it out. You know, we may break it 3 times before we get it fixed. But
Yeah,
that's just more stuff to learn. You know.
absolutely. I mean, and like set you above like everybody else. I mean, if we've got to own the technology around us. I mean, if it's all just black boxes, we're really at risk.
Yeah. I mean, you know, I don't know how to code everything that comes through the computer there, but if the computer breaks, I can make everything else in the house work. So there's there's a give and take there. You know, you gotta have a little bit of everything. So
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I almost feel like all the knowledge that's taught in school is taught in like a vacuum. Like, hey, today we're gonna learn this algebraic thing, but it's like, what does that have to do with life and what I have to do and how would you use it to solve problems?
yeah, and the kids see that, and so they tune out what they're doing at the same time. Like I'm never going to use this, or this doesn't. And I remember there was like for a short time there was a wave about you know, how the Japanese teach or how maybe Asian countries in general teach, but it wasn't, you know, teaching straight algebra. It was teaching how to figure out problems. You know what I mean? It was like the mindset of here's the basics. You know, this is counting. You figure out what you need to figure out to get the volume of this or, you know, whatever. At least that's how I understood it, you know, that the like textbooks are really thin and it was more like it was knowledge, not memorization, I guess.
Yeah, or I mean, this concept that the right answer is always in the back of the book.
Yeah.
Uh,
Mhm.
here's a problem, figure out the answer, and now prove yourself that this is the answer. You can't just turn to the back of the book. It's like
Right.
after they get out of college, they're like, oh,
Yeah, you got to start all over. It's like, okay, well, I did the 4 years of learning. Now I got to start over to year one of actually learning.
yeah. It's like, where do I sign up for the course? What's the next step? Like, but I mean, it's just like the whole conveyor belt, I mean, and then whenever the conveyor belt runs out, you're just, what do you do?
I've also seen that it seems nobody wants to even make phone calls anymore. Like, uh, say you have to go somewhere, or you know, you get something in the mail and registration, right? I need to get an inspection for my car. Okay, well, I tell him how to go get the inspection for his car. Well, then he just goes, you know, on a Sunday morning. Well, Drew, you gotta find out if they're open. Give them a phone call if you're not sure, you know. But anytime a phone call is involved, it's like, I
I had
gotta
to
talk
talk
to
to
people.
somebody.
Yeah, sometimes, man. Sometimes you gotta call somebody. And so, you know, and whereas you remember, hell, we were sitting around waiting for the phone to ring. Please ring. I want to talk to somebody.
Calling time and temperature just to.
The movie, see what movies are playing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Wow.
But
Hmm.
I don't
Oh,
know.
are you still involved in Scouts at all?
No, I don't know. But I do hang out in the woods sometimes. So I'm trying to I try to internally hold on to what Scouts was, but not with the organization though.
Yeah, I feel like life is just too prepackaged. All of our neighborhoods are like, it's just like sometimes it's nice just to go to a place that is a little natural or
Yeah, they're just I, I don't know. It's like at first, like Carrie likes to go. We like to go on vacation. We went to Scotland for a couple of weeks 2 years ago now, And then this year we were on COVID lockdown, so we couldn't go out of the country. So we just kind of did a few states camping and stuff. And in Scotland, it was really cool because it was easy to unplug because there was no service anywhere. It was, you just, hey, we're out here with, there's just sheeps and poop. And that's, hey, ta-da. You have to enjoy it. All we have is beer and sheep. So, but driving around the States, it was like I was still standing on top of a rock looking for signal, and let me send somebody a picture of what we're doing. Like I can't even unplug anymore. It's it's crazy. Unless you're just forced to.
Yeah. So what do you think about Starlink and having high-speed internet access literally every place on the globe?
So that's what Musk is trying to throw up, right? Just tons of satellites to have.
Exactly.
And what's the count on that? It's like
It's like several tens of thousands, actually.
tens of thousands of satellites. My thought on it is if you're throwing all that out and you're trying to get people in ships to travel vacation wise outside of how are you not running into all these things? There's too much stuff out there. What's going on?
I know
I
you
don't,
talk about really need to have the right schedule. Did you watch
yeah.
that? There's that Disney movie. It's about this robotic family or what have you. But there's like this one little pod that like gets shot out of this thing and lands over here. But in the way, it's like going through perfectly in the circle and
Mm-mm.
lands on the. It's just like I think it's gonna be like that. It's gonna be something that you don't want to have a late or early start.
Yeah, like you're making this really complicated. I mean, all that trajectory math was hard enough. Okay. Now you got stuff in the way everywhere. Everywhere.
Everywhere.
So, but it's a mixed bag. All the instant information everywhere it's amazing and surprising, and the things we can do now that you and I couldn't do when we were younger, to find information. We actually had a set of Encyclopedia Britannica when I was a kid that you had to find things in. And now it's fingertips, so you don't even have to type it. You just ask your phone, hey Siri, find me whatever I'm looking for at the time. And so while that's amazing, like we've been talking about, it's also making us lazy. And if it ever goes down, what the hell are we going to do? We don't have a backup anymore.
Yeah, and at least with the Encyclopedia Britannica, you're like, that's a lot to read, but
Mhm.
you're like, I could actually read that, and have a good foundation. But now, like, where do you start? Like,
Yeah,
there's no thing.
yeah, it feels like you're always behind. And maybe that may be depressing to a lot of people. Like I'm never going to catch up. What's the point?
I know you have to
Um,
kind of put a fence around the world that you're willing to deal with, and
yeah, like I'm just going to worry about this part. I don't that some of it's got nothing to do with me. I mean, like even going back to all the election stuff and all that, like if you just sit and think about all the possible things that are going on and all of this, what are you ever going to get done? Ever? You know what I mean? You just gotta put some blinders on. You gotta have blinders these days. I think that's what I'm trying to say. You gotta just cut back on some of this stuff. Put the phone down every now and again.
oh, I know. I mean, I,
Uh,
I personally think that the decision that we make to vote for president is actually one of the least impactful decisions in our life. I think maybe the decision to go running or not actually may have a more immediate
absolutely,
consequences.
absolutely. There's real things that we're not even thinking about. Like what am I eating and what am I sitting around playing on this phone instead of doing something? And man, no, we're just gonna fight on the internet about whether we're asses or elephants. That's
Maybe we're elephant asses.
yeah. We're I don't whatever it is, we're not doing it right. I don't know. There's something going on here.
Yeah.
So
Uh,
that's yeah. Just I have the same problem. It's not like I'm judging anyone for this stuff. Just trying to talk myself into getting up every morning and going for a walk because it's so easy to do. The first time it rains or it's hot, I'm like, I don't know. Maybe it's just not worth it anymore.
If you're like me, the night before you're like, tomorrow morning I'm gonna get up, I'm gonna go walking, and then the morning you're like,
Well, I'm still not all the way tied down here, so it's usually when I have a hangover the next morning. While I'm hungover, I'm like, tomorrow morning, boy, I'm getting started again because this is terrible. What was I thinking? So,
So if it was safe and affordable, would you have an interest in going into space yourself?
I'd love to see it, just to see it, absolutely. But
And you're thinking like
affordable is going to be
a day trip type
affordable is going
thing?
to be tough to talk to somebody about, but I mean, whatever, hell, we could do a week in Moon, Scotland. I'm cool with that. I'm up for adventure. That's uh, but it's also scary, and I don't like heights. What always bothers me in the space movies is not the space and all that stuff. It's that pan out to the absolute black, infinite black. Like, okay, that's kind of terrifying. While the monkey's floating off into space, without the tether that's been cut. Oh no, what a terrible way to go.
I know, just kind of like lost in the middle of it.
Yeah,
Uh,
the explosion, that's fine, but just floating off till it finally gives out. Not a big fan of that one.
yeah. Well, I really appreciate your time. Is there anything you wanted to talk about that we didn't talk about?
No, can't really think of anything. I see you got a punching bag back there. You've been doing some martial arts training, man?
Ah, no, not really, but that sure takes a good place to send your frustration.
We had one before the last flood. Oh, there's something to talk about. What's going on? We got two hurricanes pointed at us now.
Oh, I know. You know things are bad whenever you're in Texas and you have a hurricane coming at you and like, and we got
Yeah,
two.
yeah. Now we can go with. It's just one. Yeah. After this year, it'll be cake.
You know what my son's school's mascot is?
The Hurricanes.
Yeah.
So they're gonna have to get a second mascot now.
Yeah, and the year that his school opened was that year that, what was it, Harvey came through, the one that just came to Houston and flooded everything.
Uh-huh.
So it's kind of I
Yeah.
mean, that's like the first week of school and then they were off for a week because of everybody's flooded.
Well, that's what just happened here. Was they started school and then there was one person got COVID, so they went into quarantine for 2 weeks. Well, what? You are back home already? They had 2 days of school before they were back home.
Yeah. My son, my older son, he was talking about how there's like the capability to do like a cheap paper-based test that could give you results in like 15 minutes. And it
Uh-huh.
would be like $1 per test. And, if you had something like that, then, essentially you give everybody the test in the morning and then everybody that passes, okay, go to school. And if you don't, go home and, you're fine.
Yeah.
I mean,
There's a litmus test at the door.
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. But yeah,
Um,
anyway.
yeah, that's a whole nother rabbit hole. Stay out of that one.
Yeah, I know it's so scary. It's like the scary, ominous. We know how to deal with hurricanes, right? I mean, you come, blows everything down, it
Yeah.
goes, we build everything back up. We're good.
Yeah. Yeah, we've done this. This we have experience with.
This COVID-19 thing is just like, I don't know, just it's just like the boogeyman.
Right? Yeah. It's like, okay, am I properly fearful of this thing, or am I overly fearful of this thing? Am I under fearful of this thing? I don't know. I don't know. I just do the best, guys. And like you said, now it was bad enough nobody was talking to each other. Well, now we have to stay 6 feet apart, so we're never going to talk to each other.
I know. It's crazy. But anyway, we should talk more frequently. I think once every 25 years, maybe too infrequent. Just saying.
Well, all right. We'll have to find. I mean, you're in Houston. It's not that far. See if we can find a scout camp halfway, and we'll go on an outing whenever we're freed up again to do such things.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd love to come down there actually and meet you and a whole bunch of other people too. See your mom and sister and dad.
Yeah. All right, man.
Well, you have a good rest of your day, and if, I, yeah, if you ever have an excuse to reach out, please do so.
Will do, Nathan. Thanks for talking to me.
Okay, bye bye.
See you later, bud.